State Representative Matt Hall is our guest in studio. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Tim.
And what a year it has been for you. I don't know, this time a year ago, you hadn't even entered the race yet for a 63rd State House seat. Did so, I think, in maybe February, and then a long campaign, and now you're in Lansing. You're representing Eastern Kalamazoo County, Southern Calhoun County.
Yes, I am, and I'm grateful to the voters who put me there, and I've hit the ground running early. I think you mentioned that we got our committee assignments last week, and I've been appointed to chair the Oversight Committee. Also, I've been appointed to the Tax Policy, Regulatory Reform, and also the Education Committees. And so I'm excited to hit the ground running and start working on some of those issues. Most people in Lansing view tax policy and regulatory reform as two of the premier committees that directly affect our economy most. So I'll be there to help cut red tape and also keep our taxes low so we can continue growing Michigan's economy.
So it's kind of an oversight job. You'll be kind of making sure that things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. How does that work a little bit?
Well, that's right. As chairman of the Oversight Committee, I will be leading the committee responsible for reviewing the practices of state government and also looking at the reports from the Auditor General, and basically protecting the taxpayers and making sure they're getting the value that they deserve from state government. That's what I'll be doing.
Is that what you were hoping to be doing?
I'm happy to do that. Yeah, I actually wasn't really aware of what the Oversight Committee was before I got elected. But now that I've seen what it is, I think it's a great fit, and I'm grateful to Speaker Chatfield and leadership for selecting me for that, because I've worked in the Attorney General's office.
I know you have, yeah.
I worked in the Department of State in Michigan, and so I've been inside state departments and I know how they work. And so I think it's important to have someone like me holding those departments accountable, making sure that they're using tax dollars wisely and that they're following proper protocol and procedures. And if we find anywhere any kind of abuse, we're going to stop it, Tim. And that's what I'll do as chairman of the Oversight Committee in the House.
What's it been like, getting started and getting introduced to Lansing and all of that stuff? When did you start? Was it before Christmas or after? Well, how did that work?
Well, I started after I won the primary. So in August, I won the primary, and that was when I started going a little bit to Lansing and meeting some of the important stakeholders there. When you beat an incumbent, at first, especially, you may not be that well liked in Lansing. So they tend to like the people that are already there. That's why they're the establishment, right? They like other members of the establishment. So I went there and started those meetings in August, and I worked through that for a number of months while I was also campaigning in the general. And then that continued, early after the election. The meetings definitely pick up then. So that's what I did. I just, am meeting with everyone that I can and listening to all their ideas so I can be better informed, especially now on these issues of oversight, tax policy, education, and regulatory reform.
What's the procedure then for getting a staff selected? Tell us a little bit about how that worked and who you've got helping you with your office in Lansing.
Yeah, we're allowed 2 benefits packages. So what that means is basically 2 full-time employees. So I've hired 2 employees, Ashley Rubel and Caitlin Urich. Both of them came from Speaker Leonard's office. So what I liked about them was that they've worked together in the Speaker's office, and also that they know everybody in the Speaker's office. So they can help me kind of get answers to questions for my constituents and go right to the top. And really our focus this term, what my biggest priority is constituent relations. And so I wanted two individuals who had a lot of previous work in constituent relations, who knew how to get answers for our constituents. And so my number one message here today is that, I'd really encourage our listeners to call my office, email my office, and we want to be there to help you, to answer any questions you have, and also to listen to you so that I know how to best represent you.
And I think it'd be great if people called the show when you're here once a month. And you can't always come up with the answer to every question, but at least you can write it down and take it to your staff and look into it and get that answer for our callers. And I think that's a good way too for them to kind of relay to you what the important issues are here. I'm sure you're aware of most of them, but it's always good to hear from the constituents. So we'll open up our phone line. In fact, right now, even if you have a call for Matt Hall, 441-9595, because I know you can handle it. But anytime you want to call when we have these visits, we're going to start doing that more with Senator Bison and also State Rep Jim Hotzman as well when they're here on the show once a month.
Great. And as you know, I've committed to do this show once a month on hopefully the third Monday of the month. So that's exactly right. That's another way that I've made a commitment to being accessible and to listen to my voters. And I'm grateful for that opportunity to be here.
What is the education committee involved as far as so far? I know you really probably haven't even met with it yet, have you?
We haven't met yet, no. But we'll be looking at the major education policy in Michigan. And so, as you know, at the end of last term, the legislature passed A through F grading for our schools. And so, it's kind of interesting because being on these committees like education and then also on oversight as chairman, we'll be looking at how they implement A through F grading and making sure that they do it correctly and that they do it according to the intent of the legislature. And so I'll be looking at that. But, on education for me, it's most important to get more money into the classroom and also to put students first above a lot of the other interests at play in that field. So I'll be a champion for students and for choices for them and their parents and for, more money to the classroom and less in bureaucracy.
The A through F legislation passed in the lame duck session. What do you know about it? And is that something you would have supported?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I would have supported it. I think it's important because, right now, as it was previously, there's a number of different criteria that we rate our schools by. And so basically, if you're a superintendent, you just pick one or two of those criteria, you do really well at it, and you say, oh, see, I'm succeeding as a school. What I found is that, for parents, it's hard to figure out which schools are performing well and which ones are not. And so by going to A through F system and rating, they still are going to rate them in a few different criteria, but at least it's something you can understand. A through F. It's pretty simple. And then you can get a better idea as a parent which schools are succeeding and which are failing. And also as legislators, we'll be able to better understand simply which schools are passing and which are failing. And we'll know where help is needed to kind of nudge those schools up and to succeed. And parents will have a better idea where to put their kids in school if they want to see them have a good education.
I guess you can kind of correlate it to the actual student. Yeah, my kid got 2 A's this time around. Yeah. Oh, really great. What were they in? Well, gym and band. So, well, what's his overall grade point average? Well, 1.2. So I guess what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right?
I agree. I see it that way.
But how does that A through F rating, who decides and how?
Well, that was in the law. There's some nuances there. And also, I think it'll be up to the department, So that's where the oversight committee comes in. because if they are coming up with criteria that probably is not what it should be, that's when the House Oversight Committee would review it and hold hearings and try to understand why they're doing it that way, and if they're not doing it correctly, then that would allow for the House to pass another law making it more clear and to better implement it.
Matt Hall is the 63rd State House Representative, Eastern Kalamazoo County, Southern Calhoun County, basically. And when we come back, I want to ask you, what's top order of business legislatively, not only for our legislature, but for you as well. And, of course, part of that will be auto insurance reform, I'm sure. Matt Hall, 63rd State House Representative, is with us in studio. What's the first order of business up there? I've been hearing they're going to do something about auto insurance reform.
Yeah, I have a meeting this week with Representative Wentworth, who's chairing the Committee on Auto Insurance. And so I'll have that opportunity to talk to him directly and give him my input. And my message to him will be, we need to give consumers more choices, and we need to have guaranteed rate reductions. And so anything that contains those two provisions is likely something I'll vote for.
State Representative Hosman was here Friday and voiced a concern that if we offer too much of a bare bones package, people are not going to get adequate coverage. Is that a concern of yours?
Yeah, I mean, this is typical Democrat. We know better than the consumer does. And, this is where you'll see a philosophical difference between Jim and I believe that consumers are smart enough to know what they can afford, and everyone should, hopefully get the best service they can afford. But what we have now is forcing people to pay for something that's in many cases out of their price range, and because of that, they're forced to drive uninsured, which causes a lot of higher costs for us that are insured. So, the consumer should have the choice, not the government.
What else is important for this early session legislatively? What do you like to see get done here in the near future?
Well, the first bill we introduced in the Michigan House is to reform civil asset, or it's called civil asset forfeiture reform. And that was a bipartisan initiative from Republican Speaker Chatfield and Democrat Attorney General Dana Nessel. And so I think this is an example of where we can work together when we're not compromising principles between Republicans and Democrats. And basically what this would do is it would prevent the police from being able to seize your assets without a criminal conviction. If they suspect you're committing a crime, they seize your assets. That deprives you of your liberty and your property, and that's wrong. And so I support this new legislation. It's the first House bill which would reform civil asset forfeiture to require a criminal conviction before the government can seize your property.
I know Rank has spoke of that often on his show, and I also agree. It's egregious, and law enforcement has made the best of it. You can't blame law enforcement for using every tool in the tool shed to try and combat crime, but I think that's going too far. So
I agree.
I hope you guys can get something done on that soon. And it's going to be tough, anything that the majority passes is pretty much going to have to also be agreeable to the governor because she could veto it, right?
That's right. And, it'll be interesting to see where we go with the roads. Speaker Chatfield has put out a plan, which I'm supportive of, and that is to fund the roads by putting all of the gas tax into roads, including the sales tax, all of it. And my belief is we should fix the roads without raising taxes, and that means, getting rid of the sales tax on gas and replacing it with a gas tax so that it's revenue neutral. But all of the gas tax money should go into the roads, all of it. And that would raise a few $100 million that's badly needed. So I'm hopeful as part of the solution to fixing the roads something the governor was so passionate about, as was I, that we can do it, but without raising taxes.
Now, if you do that and you eliminate that sales tax portion, is that going to cause a shortfall in other budget areas?
Well, it's, my belief is that we shouldn't be spending money from the school aid fund on higher ed. I think it should all go to K through 12 and community colleges. And so if you do that, K through 12 will be just fine. They'll probably have more money than they do now. And then the higher ed will just go into the general fund, which is where it used to be. So it's always going to be about priorities in government, but to me, the number one priorities are public safety and infrastructure and education, and we need to fully fund those three things.
If people want to get a hold of you in your office, what are some of the options that they have?
Well, they can call us. It's 517-373-1787. They can email me at matthall@house.mi.gov. I'm on Facebook at State Rep Matt Hall, and also my website, repmatthall.com. You feel free to contact me in any of those places, and we'll get back with you, and we'll get you an answer to your questions.
Pretty impressive. You got the Lansing phone number memorized already.
I do. It's I didn't want to come on here and you asked me how to get a hold of me, and I forget. So yeah, I memorize a number just for this.
Matt Hall, best of luck up in Lansing. He's a freshman, as is Jim Hodsma, and our former state rep, Dr. John Bison, moves over to the state senate. I'll look forward to working with you guys to get the public more involved.
Great. You guys play an important role in that. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt Hall, 63rd State House Representative.